Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. So in today's session we will discuss about JSON loading from the external stages. In the previous session we have covered all of the JSON loading from the internal stages. Okay, we have covered lots of topics of the JSON loading from the internal stages, and you can see we have covered all these things. What is JSON and what is a variant column, and how can we parse the JSON data to get the tabular type of data. And we have also seen the flattening, and we have seen the table stage, that there is a basically we are getting a special feature for just copy command to load the data from the table stage to the table. Okay, and we have also seen that how can we parse the arrays type of data, nested data, and all those things. Okay, there we have discussed about author.json file. Okay, and there is a one more file dot sales, that where there is a sales for the home.json. Okay, so we have discussed all those things in the previous session, where we have seen about the JSON internal stages data loading. Okay, here what we are doing in the internal staging, here we are just uploading one file from the local machine to the internal stage, whether that stage is a named stage or the table stage. Okay, but here in today's session we will discuss that how can we load the data, JSON data, from the external stage. Okay, so let me first of all do this thing. Okay, and after that we will discuss those remaining things, that how to parse those things, what is flattening, how to flatten the data into the tabular format, and how to explode the array type of data into the tabular format. We will discuss that thing. Okay, so first of all let me create a one schema. Okay, separate schema for the today's session. Okay, so you can see we have created this schema JSON, and my older schema is now replaced. Okay, let me show you that thing. Okay, you can see we got this JSON schema, and we have no tables or views in this schema. Okay, so this is basically the storage integration object, okay, which I have already written. Okay, we have done this thing in the previous sessions as well. Okay, where we have discussed the configuration, that how can you configure your Snowflake with the AWS S3. Okay, we have done this thing configuration. Okay, and if you haven't done the configuration of your AWS S3 with the Snowflake, then there is a link in the description box, you can watch that session. Okay, and if you don't have any of the free trial of the AWS account or the Azure account, then the link is also in the description. You can simply create your free trial AWS account. Okay, and if you are following my series, Snowflake series, then you will be knowing that what all of the topics which I have covered so far. We have covered lots of topics, streams, tasks, external tables, and we have recently covered JSON internal loading and data loading from internal external stage. Okay, we have covered lots of topics. Okay, and we have covered the snowpipe as well. Okay, where in snowpipe what we do, in snowpipe we are just creating the SNS topic and work it with the SQS. Okay, we have done all those things. Okay, so now first of all let me create this storage integration object. This is basically the simple syntax, and this is my storage integration name, and this is basically the external stage, and the provider is AWS S3, and it is enabled, and this is basically the ARN of our role which I have created in the AWS. Okay, and basically we are just giving the permission so that our this integration can use the CSV folder, it can use others folder, and it can use pipes folder. Okay, and this is basically the command which I'm giving. Okay, so let me execute this and let me create the storage integration. Okay, so you can see storage integration is now successfully created. Okay, so let me show you the data of the storage integration, and this is basically my bucket, sky bucket 01, and you can see here we have these four folders, others, and we have given access of this pipes folder, others folder, and CSV folder. Okay, let me show you. This is CSV folder, others folder, and the pipes folder. Okay, and let me check the data in the others folder. Okay, we will be just using this others folder for the today's session, and we will just upload the JSON files into this others folder. Okay, so now what we will do, we will first of all create a file format. Earlier what we are following whenever we are working with the JSON, so not JSON, whenever we are working with the CSV files, then what we are doing, we are just creating first of all a file format. After that we are creating a stage, and we are specifying the inline property of the file format to that stage. After that we are simply giving the copy command for loading the data from the stage location, whether that is external or internal stage, and we are just giving copy command to load the data into the table. Okay, that's we are following. Okay, so this is basically the file format, create or replace file format, and this is my file format name. As we are dealing with the JSON, so this is basically the JSON. And strip outer array, we are just stripping the outer array. Okay, in the earlier session, in the previous session, we have used one file, that is an author.json file. Okay, so now let me first of all show you that file. Okay, so you can see this is my author.json file. Okay, so this is having lots of arrays. Okay, so we are just stripping that arrays. Okay, That's why we have given the boolean value true. Okay, and I have also given this file and scripts of all of the videos on the Telegram channel, so you can join that and you can get all these JSON files, CSV files, PSV, and all of the SQL scripts which I have used in my sessions. Okay, so this is basically the JSON file which I have used in the earlier session as well while loading from the internal stages, and in this session also we will use this same file. Okay, so you can see author name is author1, and here author name is author2, and here author is author3. Okay, and in each we are having one category is fiction and another category is non-fiction. Okay, so we have done this thing. Okay, so now what we will do, let me first of all create a file format, and after that we will create a stage. Okay, you can see file format is now successfully created. And now let me create an external stage. Okay, so for external stage what we have to do, let me type here creating external stage. Okay, creating external stage. Okay, so we will just create one external stage. Okay, for external stage, create or replace stage, and let me give the name as JSON stage. Okay, and after that storage integration property you have to give storage underscore integration, and my storage integration name is this one. Okay, so let me copy my storage integration name, and this is my storage integration name. And after that what you have to give, after that you have to specify the file format properties here. File format, my file format name is myjson, so let me give this name here. And after that we have to give the URL from where you want to create this stage. As I am creating this external stage, so let me copy the URL. So let me move to the bucket, and this is my bucket, and this is my basically others folder, and you have to move to the properties, and you will get here one URL, S3 URL. Okay, so we will just copy this URL. Okay, so let me copy this URL and let me paste here. Okay, so this is basically my URL. Okay, and after that you have to basically give the semicolon, and it will just create a stage. Okay, so you can see let's wait for some time. Okay, you can see stage area is now successfully created. Let me list the stage and check that what data we are having into my stage location. Okay, and my stage name is JSON stage. Okay, so let me type here JSON stage and let me execute. Okay, so now you will see here how many records we are having. We don't have any of the data into this JSON in the others folder. You can see this is my empty folder. You can see here we have no objects. Okay, so now we will upload one file and we will see. Okay, you can see we got 0 rows here. Okay, so after that what we have to do, after that you have to simply create a one table and load this JSON file into that table. Okay, so let me create a one table. Okay, create a table. Okay, you can call this table as a stage table. Okay, create a stage table. Okay, we are just creating this table to store raw JSON data, and after that we will parse this data to the tabular format, then we will store that into the other file. Okay, other table. Okay, create or replace table, and after that let me give this name as author. Okay, author, and after that author, after that let me give here one column. Okay, so what you have to do here, as I am creating this table for loading the JSON data. Okay, and we have discussed in the previous session, for loading the JSON data you have to create a one variant column. Okay, because a variant column is a column which will store all types of data, whether that is a float, whether that is a number, string, varchar, okay, or integer or number. Okay, it will store all types of data. So that's why we are creating a variant type of column for just loading the JSON data. Okay, and we will just create a one column, and let me give the column name as JSON underscore data, and let me give first of all this bracket first, and after that this column data type will be variant. Okay, variant. Okay, because we are creating this column as a variant column. Okay, so that it will store all types of data. Okay, as we have discussed in brief about this variant column in the previous session as well. Okay, so we will just create this. Okay, let me create the table first. Okay, you can see author table is now successfully created. Okay, let me list records. Okay, we obviously don't have any of the records here, but let me list and check the structure. Okay, so select asterisk from, and this is my table. Okay, author, you can see we have 0 rows, and this basically this is, and if you can just describe this table as well. Okay, describe table, and you can give your table name. Okay, so let me give my table name is author. So you can see, you will get here, you can see we have this JSON data, and this is a type of variant column. Okay, so it will store all types of records into it. Okay, in the single column. Okay, now my table is now ready. Now what we will do, we will just execute the copy command. Okay, copy command to load raw data to table. Okay, to table. Okay, we will just load the data to the stage table. Okay, and after that what we will do, we will just give copy into, as earlier we are giving, we will just follow that thing. Okay, my table name is, let me refresh this and let's check the table. Okay, and you can see in the JSON, this is my JSON, and you can see we got this author. So we are copying the data into this author table, and from where we are copying, we are just copying from our stage. Okay, so let me copy my stage name. This is my stage name. Okay, so from where I am just copying from this JSON stage, and after that you have to give file underscore format, file format, and file format name. Okay, my file format name is my JSON. Okay, you can just give the file format, or you can just leave this as it is. Okay, it will definitely work, because we have just specified the file format properties to the stage location as well. Okay, so we don't have to specify the file format property in the copy command. Okay, you can just leave it as it is, or you can just give the file format. There is no need. Okay, there is no difference. Okay, so now what we will do, we will just load one data file into our stage location, external stage, and after that we will execute this copy command to load the data. Okay, so now first of all let me move to the external stage, and this is my others folder. You can see which I have given access to our Snowflake to access this folder. Okay, so now we will just upload one file here. Okay, so for uploading, let me click on this add file, and after that we will upload this file only. Okay, we have used this file in the earlier session while working with the internal stages. Okay, you can see this is my author.json file. Okay, so now let me select this file, and this file is present in this, and after that in this, and after that in the JSON DB we have this author. Okay, so we will just open this, and after that we will just upload this file. Okay, so let's wait as it is loading, and we are not getting this thing. Okay, so let me select this, and after that let me upload this. Okay, so now you will see this file will be uploaded, and after uploading this we will just see. Okay, you can see upload is succeed now, and now we will just load this data file into our table. Okay, you can see we got this author.json file. This file is having the same data like this. Okay, you can see this file I have opened in the VS Code. Okay, and I have also discussed about this file. We have used this file in the previous session. Okay, so you must be familiar with this author table. Okay, author data. Okay, and let me list the stage first. Okay, that we got the file here in the Snowflake or not. Okay, you can see this, I have listed this JSON stage, and you can see we got this author.json here. Okay, so now what we will do, we will just load this data. Okay, now we will just give here a forward slash, and we will give this name. Okay, okay, I have told you about this thing. Okay, that you have to give this forward slash, and you can just load this file, or you can just specify the files property in the copy command. Okay, so now let me execute this, and let's see. Okay, and now it will just load one data. You can see rows passed 3 and rows loaded 3. Here we have 3 records. Okay, first one is for author 1, and second is for author 2, and third is for author 3. Okay, so you can see all the records are now loaded, and now we will just list the record. Okay, you can see in our table we got 3 rows. Okay, and we have got all the data in the JSON format. This is for author 1, and this is for author 2, and this is for author 3. Okay, you can see here. Okay, we got all the data in the JSON format. Okay, so now we have done the loading into our table from the external stage. Okay, now we will see that how can we access this data. Okay, access this data. Okay, we will discuss that thing. Okay, so now let's talking about the accessing, that how can we access the, means how can you parse the JSON data into our any of the column format or the tabular format, and how can you access the simple data or the nested data or the array type of data. So we have discussed all these things in the previous session. Okay, so now what we will do, we will just move to the previous session worksheet. Okay, so this is basically JSON internal stages, where we have done the loading from the internal stages. Okay, these are things we have done in the previous session. Okay, and the link of this session is given in the description box. You can watch this session as well. Okay, You can see here we have created the stage, this stage, and after that we have uploaded one file to this named stage. Okay, as process is same here, we are just dealing with the internal stages, means user table or name, and now what we are working, we are just working with the external stage, means AWS S3, any of the cloud locations. Okay, the difference is just for a stage only. Okay, and rest all things will be same. Okay, how can you parse the data, how can you means explode your data, means raw data of the JSON into a tabular format, rest all the things will be same. Okay, so now you can see we have done this parsing of the JSON data into the column format. Okay, and you can see we have accessed the simple data like this way, and we have accessed array type of data like this way, and we have accessed nested JSON data like this way. Okay, and we have seen that how can we get the data in the column type of. Okay, so you can see we have filed this query, and for the more detail we have filed this query. Okay, and for getting the data into our tabular format, means you are just converting your JSON semi-structured array type of data into your tabular format, then you are just following the two methods. Okay, we have discussed about these two methods in the previous session. First one is flattening, and the second one is by just parsing, by just giving union and union all, or you can just give the parsing by using the colon notation by giving the dollar, and you can just parse the data in the copy command only. You can see this is the flattening we have done, and after that in the method 2 we have used another table, and here we are just giving all these parsing in the copy command only, so that we don't have to create another table. Okay, and we have worked with the table stage. Okay, in the table stage we have to just fire this copy into command. Okay, so now what we will do, we will just copy the codes from here as well, and we will discuss that thing, how can we do this thing while working with the external stages. Okay, because instead of writing this again and again, so video will be very long, as previous video is very long of 1.5 hours. Okay, so we will just copy these things from here, and we will just paste these things. Okay, so let me first of all copy these things from here, and let me paste in that external stages worksheet. Okay, because instead of writing this again and again, it will be just a waste of time. Okay, and let me copy these things, and we will just copy all those things. Okay, let me leave okay, let me copy all those things. Okay, and we will not do this thing working with JSON table list, because in the external stage there is no concept of the table stage. Okay, so let me move here, and let's okay, you can see loading data from the external stage, and now we have successfully loaded the data from the external cloud storage into our Snowflake table. Okay, and you can see we got the data, we got all the data in the JSON format. Okay, now we will see how can you parse the data and how can you list all these records. Okay, we will discuss this thing. Okay, so now parsing of the JSON data in the column format. Okay, suppose that now what it is happening. Okay, so now we have our Snowflake table, this author table, and it is having all the data in the just a column format. Okay, all the data is present in just a column in all the sorry guys, all the data is just present in the JSON format. Okay, you can see in the JSON format, author name in the double quotes, and you can see all the nested and all the data in that type format only. Okay, in the JSON format. Okay, so now you want to access this in the column format. Okay, so how to access that? Okay, so rest all the things will be same. Select JSON data, and let's see that what is the variant column name which I have given here. Okay, you can see let me check. Okay, you can see this is the JSON data, and create or replace table author JSON data, and this is my basically the variant column name. Okay, so all of my JSON data is stored in this column only, JSON data. It is a variant column, so it will just capture all the data, string, boolean, and all those data it will capture. Okay, so we will just use this for accessing, and we will use the column notation. Okay, so select, and after that this is variant column name, after that this is our data. Okay, author name. Okay, so we are just accessing the author name, so we are just using the column notation. So author name as, and this is basically the alias name. Okay, and this is we are just accessing the category, and we are just giving the alias name. You can use the as keyword, or you can write as it is. Okay, then it will work. Okay, and now my table name is author. Okay, earlier it was authors. Okay, so my table name is author, so I am just accessing this thing. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, and you can see we got all this records: author name, author 1, author 2, author 3. This is alias name, and you can see category also came in the alias name. Okay, and you can see we got this type of data here in the JSON. Okay, And now suppose that you want to access the array type of data. Okay, let's check that whether we have any type of array type of data here or not. Okay, let's check. Okay, we can see we have best addition. Okay, and let me show you here as well. Okay, so you can see here we have this best addition, and we have three type of maximum size of this array is 3. Okay, and here maximum file size is 2, py and 3y, and here maximum file size for the author 3 is ty, typescript and javascript. Okay, guys, best addition and maximum file size is 2. Okay, so now we will just access this array type of data. Okay, suppose that now what is happening, you have this data and you are knowing that in our file for the author 3 we have best addition. This is array type of data and it is having just two maximum file size is true, maximum array size is true. Okay, 2, and here maximum array size is 3. Okay, so you are just knowing already. Okay, suppose that you have data and you are not knowing that how much is the maximum maximum array size. Maybe it is 100, maybe it is 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, so how to get the array size? Okay, we have done this thing as well. Okay, so for that there is this thing array size function, and you can just give this array size, and after that this is my variant data name, variant column name, and this is just we are just accessing this thing, and this best addition is my field which is having the array type of data, and from author this is my table name. Now this table name, okay, which is having the JSON type of data. So let me execute this and it will. So you can see we got for the author 1 2, and for the author 2 3, and for the author 3 2. Okay, you can check here as well. For the author 2 we have 3, and for the author 3 we have 2, and for the author 1 we have 2 here. Okay, so 2 3 2, you can see we got 2 3 2. Okay, so by this way you can get the array size. Okay, and suppose that you want to get the array type of data, means array, what is the data which is present in that array. So you can just access by this way. Select JSON data category best addition from the author. Okay, you can see we got this thing. Okay, and suppose that you want to access best addition for zero indexing, so you can access like that way as well. You can see we got for py, java and ty. Okay, for the best addition first. Okay, you can get this way as well. Okay, and now suppose that there is one more method as well for parsing that data. You can use the that dollar notation as well. Okay, so let me write one query. Okay, using dollar for querying JSON data. Okay, you can use the dollar as well. Okay, so for dollar, how can you write the query? Select, and after that what you have to do, you have to give this $1 dot, and my first column name is author name. Okay, author name, and from, and you can just query this data from the stage as well. Okay, so let me tell you from the author first. This is my table name. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, and let's see what we got. Okay, you can see we got all the author 1, author 2 and author 3. Okay, so you can just use this dollar notation as well. Okay, for accessing the data from the table. Okay, and suppose that you want to access this data from the file directly from the stage. Okay, so let me tell you about that well as well. Okay, accessing data directly from stage location. Okay, suppose that you don't want to load the data, means JSON data, into any of the table, as we have loaded the data from the stage to this table, and we are just parsing this data, and we are just checking the record, nested records, array type of record. Okay, and suppose that you don't want to load this data into any of the table. Okay, so how can you just access this data from the stage? Okay, so how can you do that? Okay, so for that what you have to do, you have to just let me copy this thing, and you have to just give like this way as well. Select dollar author name from author, and after that in the from clause you have to just write your stage name. Okay, so my stage name is this one. Okay, so my stage name is this one, so you can give this directly, and I am accessing this author.json file. Okay, and after that you have to specify the file format as well. Okay, so my file format is this file format, and you can give like this way file format, and my file format name, let me check the file format name. So file format name is my JSON, my underscore JSON. Okay, so you will just give my JSON in the single quotes, my JSON, and close the bracket, and after that you can execute. And now you will see we will get here data. You can see we got author name, author 1, author 2, author 3. Okay, so by this way you can just query, means you can just parse the data from the stage location directly without loading that data into any of the table. Okay, you can try with this dollar notation, or you can just try with this variant column name. Okay, or you can just download the data into any of the table, or you can just query the data from the stage location directly. Okay, you can see we have done this thing and we have done this thing here for the dollar, and this is for accessing data from the stage location directory. Okay, so now let's see that how can we load how can we parse the nested data. Okay, so for nested data we have done this thing: JSON data author name category 0, for the category indexing 0, for the category 1. Okay, you can see here for the category 0, this is category 0 and this is category 1, this is category 1 and this is category 2. Okay, we will access this thing. Okay, we have done this thing. Okay, so we are just executing this query. You can see for the we got this thing. Okay, for the author name you can see author 1, author 2, author 3, and here we are fiction. Here author 2 is not having any of the category with the non-fixed, so that's why it is showing null. We have discussed this thing: whatever data is not present, it will just insert by default as null. Okay, so you can just query this thing as well. And here we are just accessing genre 0 as well and novel 1 as well, you can see, and sales as well. Okay, so we will get all the data. Okay, you can see you can just give the indexing. Okay, and you can see we got this 850 null, and here is no data for this sales for novel 2, so you can see we got this null. Okay, if no value is present, then it will show null. Okay, you can see you can access like this way as well. You can see we have to just give the indexing as well. We have done this thing in the previous session. Okay, and we have copied all these codes from the previous only. Okay, and let's check the data in the table, and after that we will just suppose that, let me show you the data first in this. Okay, so you can see here we are getting all the data in the double quotes. You can see author 1 in the double quotes, and here author 1 action and adventure in the double quotes, and you can see we are getting this JSON data. And suppose that you want to get all this data in the tabular format. In the tabular format, these double quotes will be removed. Okay, so how can you do that? You can just parse these things. Means you can just cast these things to the specific data type. Suppose that this is an author and this is a string, so we will just cast this by using the double colon to the string. And suppose that if there is some number, so we will cast that to the number data type. Okay, you can see we are doing the same thing here only. Okay, we have done this thing in the previous session. Okay, JSON data author name, and we are just casting this author name to the string, and this is basically the alias name. Okay, and category name, we are just casting this category name to the string, and this category name of the one indexing we are just casting to the string, and we are just giving this alias name here. Okay, so now let me execute this, and this time you can see double quotes are removed from here, and we got all the data in the tabular format. Okay, so by this way you can just cast any of the column to the means any of the specific data type. You can cast that to the string if it is a string data. If it is a number, you can cast that to the integer or number, like that. Okay, and let me remove this thing first. We will discuss that thing later on. And after that, suppose that you want to access more records, so you can just cast them according to their data type. Okay, you can see we got all of the data into this way in the column format. Okay, because we have just done the parsing here. Okay, and suppose that you want to store this data from this author table, as this is a JSON data, so we are just performing the select query. And suppose that you want to create a table by this data, so you can just write here create or replace table, and you can give your table name here, table underscore name, table name as, and you can just execute this query. It will just take this much data from the table, and it will store that into another table, and it will show you this tabular type of data there. Okay, and now that's all about what we are doing. We are just accessing all the data which is present in our JSON table. Okay, you can see this is an author table, and it is having all data which is in the JSON format. And we have seen how can we parse the data, and how can we access the nested data, how can we access the array type of data, and how can you get the array size. And suppose that you want to use this dollar notation, so you can use the dollar for accessing the data. How can you access the data without storing into the table. Okay, so we have seen all those things. Okay, and suppose that I want to store this JSON data into another table. We want this data in the tabular format. Okay, so how can you get in the tabular format? Okay, so for that we have two methods. We have first one is flattening, and the second one is by doing the parsing, and for the parsing we will just do this thing. This is basically the parsing. Okay, if you will execute this query, it will just create a one table. So the method 2 is then, and in the method 2 we will discuss another thing, that how can you just use the parsing in the copy command only. Okay, so this is basically the flattening. Okay, as we have discussed about this flattening in the previous session, that flattening is a process of unpacking semi-structured data into a column format by converting arrays to the different rows. Okay, here in the flattening we are just unpacking the semi-structured array type of JSON data into the tabular format. We will get all of the tables, and we are just exploding this array type of data into the column format. Okay, we will just use the lateral function. Here we can explode arrays into the individual JSON objects. Okay, so let's see that how can we use the lateral function. And for the lateral function, we have also seen the documentation of the lateral flatten function and what is the input. Okay, we have discussed this thing. Okay, so let me first of all show you the Snowflake documentation also. Okay, see, this is a documentation for the flatten. Okay, see, flatten explores compound values into multiple rows. Okay, flatten is a table function that makes a variant object array column and produces a lateral view. Okay, and you can see this is a syntax. Okay, and input expression input, this is basically required in all wherever you are using this flatten function, and these are some of the optional parameters. You can use this according to your need. You can see this is input, this expression that will unseat into rows. It will just change this array type of data into rows, and the expression must be of data type variant object or the array. And we are dealing with the JSON, so we have array and variant data type. Okay, you can see this is a path, and these are some of the optional parameters. Okay, so you can understand this flatten, and you can visit to the Snowflake documentation, and you can just learn more about this flatten. Okay, and we, as already we have discussed about this thing. Okay, so now let me execute this query, and let's see that here what you are doing here. This is basically the our variant column name, and this is the column which I am existing, and we are just casting this to the string, and we are just casting this to the string, and this is basically the a table name. So my table name is now author, and we are just using this lateral function, and we are just giving this JSON data category. Okay, for the flattening. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, let me select this first, and let's see. Okay, so you can see we got all the data in the column format. Okay, and our requirement is to get the data in the column format only, JSON data, because JSON data is the key value pairs. Okay, and I want to get this data in the column format, in the tabular format. Okay, so that's we got. Okay, so suppose, and this is for flattening all of the data rows. Okay, so how can you flatten all of the data rows? Okay, you can flatten by this way. Okay, from the authors, and this is basically the function name, and you can see lateral function. Okay, we are just flattening all those things. Okay, and here let me change the table name. Earlier we are using author. Okay, author, so now we will use this author. Okay, you can see this thing. Okay, so we have done this thing. Okay, and we have explained this thing as well. Okay, you can see we are just giving this lateral input to this JSON data category, and we are just giving this flatten to the general as well, and to the novel as well. Okay, so now what will happen, we will get all the data in the column format. Okay, so let me first of all show you that what type of data I want. Okay, we have one image. Okay, and I have given that image on the Telegram channel as well. Okay, so let me open that image in the VS Code, and let me show you that how can you check that thing. Okay, what is our requirement? Okay, because our requirement must be seen first. Okay, so let me show you this image first. Okay, why it is not opening? Let's wait for some time. I'm just opening this image in the VS Code. Okay, let's await. Okay, let's open this folder only in the VS Code. Okay, then we will able to see. Okay, because I think okay, you can see we got this image. Okay, JSON.image. Okay, and this is basically the data which I wanted. Okay, let me show you. Okay, so this is my author.json file. Okay, and this data is in JSON format here. Okay, in the JSON file. Okay, now new VS Code. Okay, let me close this. Okay, and you can see this is the author.json file, and it is having all the author records here in the JSON format. Okay, and this is all of the records in the tabular format. Okay, let me open it. Okay, as it is taking time in the VS Code, this image is taking time. Okay, you can see we got this. Okay, so this is basically the author data only in the column format, in the tabular form. You can see this is author, this is category, and this is genre, and this is novel, and this is sales. Okay, and you can see we have 2 to 4 and 5 columns and 12 rows. You can count 3 3 6 3 12 3 9 and 3 12. Okay, we have 12 rows here and 5 columns. Okay, and this data is in tabular format here, and this same data is in here in the JSON format. So our requirement is to get this data in the tabular format. Okay, so we will do that thing only. Okay, so let me execute this and let's see what we are getting. Okay, we have done this thing. We have just copied all of the codes from the internal stages loading only, because we have done this thing already. And you can see we got 12 rows and 1 2 3 4 5 columns, you can see, and we have 12 rows here. We got all of the data in the tabular format. Okay, and you can match this thing here as well. You can see author, category, genre, novel, sales. Okay, and here also author, category, genre, novel, and sales in millions. Okay, this is basically the alias name which I have given. You can see author name, category name, and sales in millions. Okay, you can see this thing, sales in millions, and novel name. Okay, and you can see we got all the 12 rows and we got all the JSON data into our in the tabular format, and we have exploded that into array type of data, JSON semi-structured data, into the column format, into the tabular format. Okay, you can see we got this is our requirement only. And suppose that you want to create a table for this. Okay, for this, so how can you create the table? So for creating the table, you have to just type here create or replace. Okay, create or replace, let me type create or replace table, and let me type here author underscore data, author underscore data, and let me type s keyword. You have to type the s keyword, and we are just creating this table from this data. So all of the data will be stored in the call in the tabular format from this. Okay, we are just flattening this thing. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, so it will create a one table. You can see author data is created, and we have done this thing, and we are just accessing the data. Let me access the data. Okay, so let me select this, because we haven't given it there semicolon. Okay, as you can see we got this author's data, and we got all of the data in the tabular format in this table. Okay, you can see this is author data, and here we are having 3 rows which is having a JSON type of data. Okay, and this is author underscore data, it is having a 12 rows, and it is having all of the data in the tabular format only. You can see it has 12 rows here, and you can see it has 12 rows, and this is our requirement only. We got that thing. Okay, you can see this type of requirement I wanted earlier, and now we got this all of the JSON data into this tabular format. Okay, so by this way you can use the flattening for just loading the data, that array type of data into the tabular format. Okay, and now let's move to the method 2. And in the method 1, that's all about the method 1, how can you use the flattening, and how can you just explode your array type of data into the tabular format. Okay, so our requirement is done. Okay, we got this data. Okay, so now let's move to the method 2, and let's understand that how can you parse the data in the copy command only. Earlier what we are doing, we are just loading the data from the external stage to the any of the table, and we are accessing the data from that table, and we are storing that data into another table. Okay, and now what we will do, we will just create a one table, and we will just upload one data, and in the copy command only we will do the parsing. Okay, so let's see that thing. Okay, so this is the thing which I have copied also from the earlier only. We have done this thing in the previous session. Okay, so now let me create a one table with the home sales first. Okay, so let me refresh and let's check here. Okay, so you can see we got this home underscore sales table. Okay, and now let me list the stage. Okay, so now my stage name is, let me check the new stage name. Okay, so my stage name is this JSON stage. Okay, so let me list the stage, and let's see how many data we are having, how many data files we are having into this external stage. Okay, you can see we have only this author.json. Okay, so now we will just upload this sales data into this stage location, and we will just access the, earlier we are dealing with the named stage, so we have done this thing. Okay, by using the CLI. Okay, so now let me upload one file here. Okay, so let me click on the upload, and let me upload this sales data file as well into our external stage. Okay, so let me click on the add file, and let's check that thing. Okay, so I have clicked on the add file, and now which file we will load this sales file. Okay, so let me open this, and now let me upload this. Okay, and now let me show you the data for the sales as well. Okay, because you have, maybe you haven't seen my previous session. Okay, we have used this sales data. Okay, sales.json in the previous session. Okay, you can see this is my sales.json, and here we are having state and zip and sale date and the price. Okay, we have three records here. Okay, so we will just load this data only. Okay, so you can see status in the AWS S3. You can see all the data is now loaded. We have author.json, and we have successfully worked with the author.json parsing and array nested, and we have just used the flattening for loading this and for exploding this array type of semi-structured JSON data into our Snowflake table in the tabular format we have stored it. Okay, and this is sales.json. Okay, so now we will load this sales.json. Okay, so now let me list the stage and let's see that whether we are getting this sales.json here or not. Okay, see we got this sales.json. Okay, and this is earlier file author.json. Okay, so now we will just execute this copy command, copy into home. Say this is my table name, and from our stage. Okay, let me give the stage name here, and this is my stage name, and rest file name is same sales.json. Okay, so now this is basically the copy command into home still, and we are just using the substr, and substr we are using for just extracting the city and state. Okay, state record, and we are just giving this colon notation. We have done this colon here. Okay, not colon, this is basically the a dollar. Okay, sorry for that. This is basically the dollar. You can use the dollar for accessing the data, querying the data from the stage table or from the JSON table, means whatever from the variant type column type of data. Okay, you can just use the column. Okay, and we are just copying this data from this stage and this sales.json, and if any of the error will encounter, then it will continue. Okay, we have seen this thing. Okay, so let's execute this and let's see. Okay, that how many records it is loading. Okay, you can see its status is loaded and rows passed 3 and rows loaded 3. Okay, you can see we got all of the data, and in the sales.json we have 3 rows. Okay, and you can see 3 rows are now loaded in the status also. You can see in the console. Okay, you can see rows passed 3 and rows loaded, error limit is 3, and you can see error, no any error. Okay, and now let's check the data into this table home sales. Okay, so now let's execute. Okay, now you can see we got all the data in the tabular format. This is our requirement only. Okay, you can see this is the data in the JSON format, in the double quotes and in the key value pairs, and you can see this is the data in the tabular format. Okay, and this is the thing which we are expecting from this flattening, and from this using this thing in the copy command only. Okay, you can see here. Okay, uh, we have told you that here what we are doing here, let me compare this. Okay, so earlier what we are doing, we are just copying, means we are just uploading one file to the external stage, and we are just loading that data into our Snowflake table. Okay, and in the one column, that is a JSON variant, that a variant column. Okay, and after variant column we are just taking that data and we are accessing the data, and we are just accessing that data, and we are just doing the flattening and creating a one table, another table. Okay, and you can see this is an author table, and it is having a JSON type of data, and we have taken the data from this author table, and we have just flattened that data into this author dot data. Okay, so this is what we are doing. Okay, and now what we will do, not what we have done in this second method. In the second method we have just created this table, and we have used, and we have just passed all the data in this copy command only. Okay, so this is basically here there is a one simplicity that you don't have to create another table, and you don't have to means explode the array type of data in the another table. Okay, you can just do this thing while copying the data from the stage table, stage location data file into your table, Snowflake table. You can do this thing while doing the copy command only. So this is basically the simplicity here. Okay, and you can see we got the records here in the column format, in the tabular format. Okay, see we got this thing. Okay, this is our requirement, and in the authors dot data, let's show you the authors dot data as well. And you can see let me select this thing, and let me select, and let me execute. You can see we got for author.json as well, we got 12 rows. Okay, so now we have just exploded our array type of data, semi-structured JSON data into the tabular format. Okay, for this author.json as well, you can see this is author.json as well, and this is basically our home as well, home dot underscore sales. Okay, so we got all those things. Okay, and we have converted these things JSON data into our tabular format. Okay, So that's all about the today's session. For that, how can you load the data from the JSON external stage? Basically all the things are same. While you are comparing this thing with the previous session, only the difference is in the previous session we are just dealing with the internal stages, user table or name, but here we are just dealing with the external stage, and rest all the queries, these codes are the same. Okay, so that's all for today. Meet you soon in the next very interesting tutorial, and in the next tutorial we will just understand about the JSON object construct and parse function. How can you just give the means give your JSON data here, and how can you store that into the table, and how can you access that. Okay, we will discuss about flattening more in the upcoming session as well. Okay, and means suppose that you have any type of data, means CSV data, or you can say that you have any simple data. Okay, and you want that data to be stored in the Snowflake in the any one variant column in the JSON format. Okay, so how can you do that? Okay, for that there is a one object underscore construct function. Okay, you can see here this is a JSON object construct worksheet. Okay, so we will discuss this thing in the upcoming session. Okay, so that's all for today. Meet you soon in the next very interesting tutorial of the JSON. And if you have any doubt, then you can ask me, and the link of other sessions are also given in the description box. You can watch those videos according to your needs. And that's all. And if you want all of these queries, these all of the queries means SQL query scripts which I am using in my sessions, you can get all these things on all of the files which I am using, this author.json and CSV file, whatever file we are using in the session, you can get all these files on my Telegram channel. Okay, so it's better to join my channel. Okay, the link will be given in the description box. Okay, so that's all for today. Bye, take care of yourself, guys.